Alright, now we're going to jump into something that is not going to be a lesson. This is going to be like one of those things I just kind of show off where I'm at in my understanding of the engine. And I did write it all down so you can kind of play around. But this is a side scroller, okay? So what I was really interested in is, okay, I've been showing you cameras and how to move between cameras. I know I have to take this a step back a little bit here in the near future and say, hey, we got to learn materials, texture rendering, and lighting, because that's where you need to be at. But I want to show students what it looks like on the scripting end. Keep in mind, I'm a big, huge student already. So, you know, what limited understanding I have of things, there's some things that I go, whoa, what about this? And I can't sleep at night. And then I look it up and try to freaking Frankenstein something together. I'm a big reverse engineering type of person. I got to have something, pick it apart, find out how it works, and then learn from it. So if you are that reverse engineering brain, that's good. This will be good for you. But if you're just a student, like kind of lost on things and wondering what I'm talking about how would you program a side scroller in the UDK? And what I did is I figured that out and I wrote it all down, and I just wanted to show you the scripting side of things. So when you have questions like, what if I wanted to make my gun shoot jelly beans? Okay, well, obviously that would be a scripting thing, because there's not really a game type that allows you to shoot jelly beans out of your gun, right? So anything that's really a hard sell, as far as you are not in a first-person game anymore, you are in a third-person, you're in a top-down or RTS or side-scroller, those are all scripting things. So I'll show you what that looks like without really technically teaching you too much here. Sounds fun, right? Okay, well, what I'm talking about here is Underworld Properties. I've been having you drop down to UT Game. Well, what if you had your own game type, like canned game info? In this case, if I play an editor, you'll see that I am locked into my 2D view. Okay, I can't go into the foreground or background. Well, how did that work? Well, I'll show you. Along with the UDK comes this fancy folder filled with all kinds of files you'll hardly ever understand in life unless you have no life, and I don't, so that's where I'm going. Under development, I have source, and then I have this, okay? And I made a folder in here called Canned. Canned has 2 scripts. Classes has 8 scripts. And I said, wouldn't it be fun to show you what these scripts are? Well, what I did is I made a Google Doc and I shared it underneath here in the video. So if you look in the description of the video, you'll find UDK side scroller, where I broke all this down into each script and what it does, or not really technically what it does, but what it looks like. Now, where did I get this information? Because, you know, it's not like I dreamt some of this up. Well, a lot of it is derived from the UDK website. So if you go UDK side scroller example camera. Okay. There's the UDK 3 camera technical guide. And I'll post this in the document too. But here, this document breaks down how cameras work. It gives you all the little code, gives you some example code. It shows you how first person works, third person works, and down below, side scroller, and even top down. So if you ever want to use the code that I give you here and try out the other cameras, you can. That's what these 2 scripts are. You'll notice that there's UDM player UC, and there's UDN pawn. Both are pretty consistent all the way through this document. Let's say I wanted to use the isometric camera. Again, UDN pawn, UDN player controller. All right, how do you make a script, right? Well, very easy. You just make a new text document. Get rid of the text. Do you want to change it? Yes. Voila. Now it's an actual script. What you copy paste into the script is very important. So, in the document provided, I give you the folder structure. So first off, source, you make a folder called canned, and then in can you make classes. Here's what goes into the canned directory. Here it goes within the classes directory. And for each file, I didn't do all the work for you because I could have just gave you the files, but that you would have never learned anything from that. So make those files and then take this code all the way down to the line and copy and paste it into each file. Okay, so I made some work for you, but this is how I learn stuff. You know, it's not like if you just give files to students, they're never going to learn anything. All right. So copy paste those into into their file, and what they do, I'll give you a couple of them. So scripting works like this. You take an already made script and you bastardize it a little bit to do something else. So it's called subclassing. So you have a script, you'll class it and subclass it to death until it has no meaning anymore. You'll see this one given by UC. It has a UT pawn. Okay, it extends UT pawn. So you have UDN pawn, and you are copying already instructions from UT pawn and offsetting them. All right. Where's that one at? Game info. I'm going to open game info on this one. It's just easier to kind of walk you through it. This is a class. Okay. If I go to game info, normally I have you guys go to UT game. Okay. Well, what I wanted to do was make a bastardized version of UT game and say canned game info. In canned game info, I have a pawn, a controller, a bot, and a HUD. So for each one of these, I have to declare them. So here's canned HUD. In here, not much in there. Why? Because I really haven't technically changed anything. It extends UT HUD, which is the master script. Canned pawn. Here's UDN pawn. I wanted a canned pawn. What am I changing? The only thing I'm changing here is its default properties to be turning strife off. The max step height, jump, and then jump in Z. I'm making it a little bit bigger so you can jump over blocks. That's the only thing I'm changing. So therefore, I need a script for it that extends UDN pawn. It takes over. Player controller, again, not much there. You are still using A and D, just W and S on the keyboard. Just don't work anymore because you're locked into position. And that is happening by this one right here. Okay. Then a couple of these, again, you know, I'll go into this, but really my technical understanding is I Frankensteined a bunch of this stuff together and it grew quite well, and I'm still in my developing phase myself. All right. Now you have those scripts. What happens? Well, you have to compile them. So under binaries, you'll find this fancy tool called Unreal Front End. And if you copy pasted everything correctly from the Google Doc, you should be able to go to scripts and say compile scripts. This is going to happen on mine because I have an extra roofs so I don't screw it up. Other than that, you should have a green succeed make. And what does that do for you? Well, now you've put into place a whole new structure within the engine, a whole new game type called canned game info. And once you have that into place, you can start writing some Kismet, because there's also been some Kismet put into place. If you go to my Kismet window here, you'll have new action. You'll also have canned, configure canned bot. So in the next little section here, we're going to look at the Kismet part of things and how to put that into place. So you have a little side scroller that isn't really worth a darn, but it's pretty cool nonetheless if you're just interested in how to change the engine a little bit. All right, so let's go on to that part. All right, now we're going to look at spawning a bot. Spawning a bot is pretty easy, but we have to spawn a very special bot. So here, first off, we need an event, and that's level loaded. And in level loaded, I can right click, add actor, actor factory, marry those two together. On this one, I have to set the trigger count to 0. On this one, drop this blue arrow down, and you can see I can spawn a whole bunch of things. So what I want is just UT actor factory. Now, in that code that I gave you, you'll find controller classes. Okay, and now there's a canned bot, and there's a pawn. Again, if you check back on the scripts, you'll find there is in fact a canned bot and a canned pawn. If you go to those, you'll then see what's happening here in the two drop downs. And there's not much, but still really interesting. Next, right click here, new action, canned, configure canned bot. Alright, so this is a bot that only understands 2D. It has a patrol point. It can patrol from one apple to the next, and apples are path nodes. Later, we're going to understand what path nodes are a little bit more in depth. For right now, they are just the ability for a bot to go back and forth in the world and patrol. So right click, add actor, add path node. And what I'm going to do is double click on this and set it to 500Y. Why? Because that is the inside scroller depth ratio. Okay, I can copy these. And I'm just using Alt and click and dragging for that. The middle one here, I'm going to right click and say new object variable using path node 2. That's going to be my spawn point. The other two are going to be my patrol start and end. So to get those within the engine, or a Kismet, hold control, I can click on both of them. And then over here, bam, they're both in here. Now I don't really care if where he starts and ends, but just as long as it's between those two apples. Alright, a few other things that you can change. Here in Actor Factory, you could state things like this. See where it says spawn count? I can change it here, or if you like these little bubbles, you can also go like this, right click, create initialized variable, and then you can say 2. Spawn. I'm going to go like this, create a new variable. Spawn has to feed target so that the bot knows what the target is. Okay, max range of fire. If you want to set this, again, right click, new variable, and I will set this to 750. This is the sight range, so if you find that quite annoying that he sees you right off the bat, you can change that also. Okay, I think I got everything. That was a lot of stuff, right? Alright. Oh, I can give him a gun, but for right now, I don't think I want to. Let's tidy this up. So this one right here, let's put that in 500Y. I'm going to move him a little bit down so he's away from the apples. Go to world, move him down this way in the top view. And then I have to go build all. This will build all the path nodes that the bots use to find the nodes and wander back and forth between them. This is why I'm telling you, always develop in small increments. You know, like when I'm building here, I'm not going to build an entire Paris and then go running around Paris trying to understand path nodes, because it would take too long to build. It's so much better to build in very small levels like this, get an understanding of what's going on, and then going on with life. So play in editor. Okay, you're going to get that little thing at the bottom. That's no big deal. And you should have, yep, you have a buddy now. And they're kind of dumb because they have no guns. So they don't know what to do. Yeah, but they're there. All right, let's give them some weapons so they know what to do. And let's give me a weapon so I know what to do. So in Actor Factory, I'm going to go give default inventory, or I can actually say which thing I want to give them. Do I want to give them a rocket launcher or a link gun or jump boots? I'll give them a link gun. And then if I want weapons, that's a whole new story altogether. In your content browser, you have actor classes. And you have pickups, weapon pickups. And I like this weapon locker because it has everything. So I'm just going to drag one of those out. And again, double click on it, set it to 500Y. So you can actually touch the stupid thing. And then if you double click on it, you can also state what weapons. So let's see, I'm going to add a link gun. And a shock rifle. Okay, close that out. This you don't have to rebuild. Well, I guess you do, because you have to state where that weapon locker is. So build all. A weapon locker is another path node technically. The bot needs to know where it's at. Even though the bot already has guns. Yeah. Alright. Get my gun. Boy, they're kind of dumb. Oh, I bet the max sight range is just too low. It's fun that they're kind of dumb, but still. Still great to watch. Let's see in Kismet what we can do about their smarts. Okay, I see exactly what's going on. They can't see me. So right click, new variable, player, player. See the firing target? It needs to be added to a player. There we go. Now they're smart bots. Now they're going to own me. Oh yeah, there we go. I'm just running. All right. So now you have a 2D side scroller in the UDK. I know I didn't teach much there, but hopefully you enjoyed copy and pasting, and maybe you can get a reverse engineering feel for it. Maybe in future lessons I can go into it a little bit further. But for right now, we have to get back to our series of understanding it at lights and camera and action. But this is a camera, so there you go for those students. Enjoy.